What's up, everyone? I'm Taylor. I wanted to make a video that I think might be kind of interesting, and I just wanted to see what other people also think about what it is that I'm about to do. So if you see behind me here, there is a grand piano. The keys are not in it. The whole action is gone. And if you look over here to my side and in front of me, well, you can see something interesting. And then if we go this way, we have part of the action, keys, and the rest of the action. So what I'm doing is I'm painting the keys on this grand piano that used to be my grandpa's, that I've, it's been a big part of my life for my whole life. And if you know anything about people that have a relationship between colors and music, you may have an idea of why I'm doing this, but that's kind of just one part of the reason. The real reason is because my whole life people have told me that I don't think about music the right way, or I'm doing music wrong, or just shut up and just play the sheet music. And this is Hannon if you play piano, or if you don't, well, it's just kind of intended to get your fingers to move independently and work well, but it's like, this is music notation. I don't like how this looks. It's just boring. Music is not a black and white thing to me. Music is full of colors and all kinds of things to play around with and experiment with, and all kinds of different sounds. And so here we are. But I wanted to, I was in the middle of just taking this whole thing apart, and I thought maybe this would be good to record, and I'll take some video of the in-between process. I've already got the action pulled mostly apart, but that's a whole thing in and of itself. And the real takeaway here, if you want to just, close out of the video right now because you think I'm, crazy or whatever, which I've heard that before a few times, but just, it's okay to be yourself. Just be you. And just do it. And see what the world has to say. And if, they don't like it, then find a different world. There are others out there. So just an update on everything. I'm pretty happy with how the piano keys came out overall. The electric keyboard or digital keyboard keys and synth keys, the sharps and flats, have all gone back to black because they're going to match the piano. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I'm happy for the most part with the piano keys. The E key, the yellow, is bubbled up in some places, it didn't do that on literally any of the other ones from what I can see, just on those. And the color that I used for G and for F, it is kind of burbly in some places too, but it's different than the cracklies that's on the E. So I don't know, the temperature and the humidity out here are pretty bad because this is Texas and it's 80 degrees and it's 8 a.m. and the high is 100 today. So we just do what we can. Ideally, this would be in a climate-controlled paint booth or something with actual paint instead of just, stuff that you can buy off the shelf that works okay. But that's okay. I am happy with how it is. I think it's going to look really cool, and this is one iteration probably of many more to come, so it's okay if you do something the first time, or in this case this is the fourth time I've done this, but the first time I've painted an actual piano, And I don't really care if it's perfect. I just care if it's fun, it looks cool, and it's better than it was the last time. And it's definitely all of those things. So we'll have another update once I've got the clear coat on and it's dried and I have everything back together. Okay, so we're back, and it's not perfect. There are some spots on some of the C's where, and like the F's and the G's, where it's kind of rough, but overall, it's pretty good for the most part. They all feel pretty consistent, like the texture on all of them feels pretty consistent. Definitely feels different than the sharps and flats. But there are also some little specks underneath the clear coat in some parts, which is not a big deal. But the feel is pretty good and the look is pretty good, and I like it. And from a distance, it looks awesome. But while we're here, I wanted to take a second and just kind of show everybody what a piano action actually looks like and how it kind of works. I'm not an expert on this stuff by any means, but just kind of as an idea. So one of the big differences between this and like a digital piano is how long the keys are. So the key on the acoustic action starts here and it goes all the way back here. This is the end of the key right here with the back check. And it hinges somewhere in the middle, roughly. And then the back of the key goes up, hits the whipping, and then that kicks the hammer up, and it rests on the back check there. And then this is going to be where the string is, somewhere right here, and then it hits that and then returns back down. But one of the like big things with these is on an acoustic action, if you're playing a chord where you're like in between the black keys and you press your finger right up here towards the top of the note, this is really where like the notes, the key stops whenever you're actually playing it. It doesn't feel a ton different than pressing it all the way back down here because you've got this lever that's like a foot long. But if we go over to the like digital keyboard action over on my Roland FP30 here, the keys are much shorter. So this is like the length of the key in the like hinge or the pivot point, whatever you want to call it, is very close to where the top of the key actually is. And then we don't have anything back here. This is just the top of the piano and it goes back over. We don't have anything back here that's going to like go up. I think the Nordgrand and some of the Korgs actually have like a hammer thing in them, but I don't know. On this one, it just goes kind of deep underneath the piano, and then if we look in here, the keys on this are actually like hollow on the inside. There's no weighting and they weigh basically nothing. The weighted action kind of goes underneath. So instead of having like the whipping and the hammer on top of it that goes up, this like curls back around underneath the key. And when you press on it, it goes, I guess, backwards, and then it comes up at the same time. So that's how like the weighted action, at least on like this Roland FP30 specifically works. I'm sure there are differences on all of them, but on these, I can't really take this off since I've got this back on, but there are weights in the keys, like lead weights in the keys. And then you've also got all of this stuff that you're pressing up in addition to like the leverage and everything. So they feel different. They don't feel the same, but like personally, the Korg actions that I've played on feel a lot closer to an actual acoustic piano. The Rolands don't really feel like an acoustic piano to me. They feel good, but they're a little heavy in weird places and they don't quite feel the same. And I mean, I can, play fast on all of them, but there are differences. And while I've got this whole thing taken apart, I figured I would just go ahead and show everybody kind of what that looks like if you're interested in what the insides of things and how things work and, taking stuff apart like I am. So cool. well, I guess that wasn't bad for playing with one hand and being at a weird angle with my left foot on the sustain pedal. But that's kind of the idea with what I'm trying to work out with this setup here, which is, moving constantly between different sounds and textures and layers. And, that's what music is to me. When I was a young kid, like really young, it's anytime I'd hear music, it was such a beautiful, just magical experience. And my mom would sing. She was a trumpet player, and she didn't really play like when I was a kid, but she would sing all the time and was always playing really interesting, exciting, beautiful music and like different, classical music. And then my dad would play like classic rock on the radio, and like that was awesome. And it was such a beautiful thing. And at some point, my parents realized, oh, something's happening with this kid and his mind, and maybe we should get him in music lessons. And music lessons, like a piano teacher told her, like, oh, we don't start kids that early. He won't learn anything, and he won't. And then, trying later in school, I tried different instruments, and I was around people who were not having the same experience as me, and I just didn't understand. And when I was a kid in like second, third grade, and we would get handed out paint by numbers, my paint by numbers would be wrong, or at least different than everyone else's, because to me it was right. To me, the 5 tiles are supposed to be red because 5 is red, and the 3 tiles are supposed to be green because 3 is green. But if the answer key or the key that you're supposed to color by says that 3 is blue, that's wrong because 3 is definitely green. And then that just led to my teacher thinking, what's wrong with this kid? What? And so there were a lot of incompatibilities with just how I was experiencing the world and other people that I was around. And it made trying to do creative things difficult because most teachers don't actually want you to explore and think outside the box and have a good time. Most teachers want your parents to pay them for music lessons, and they say, this is the curriculum that I follow, and by this many weeks, your kid can play this thing, and give me your money. And I learned this way, and this works, and look at me, I'm a professional music teacher. And there's not all teachers are like that. I have a teacher now, I'm in my early 30s, and it's a very different experience than when I was a kid and people didn't know what was happening. And I was, when I was 15 and taking guitar lessons, my guitar teacher was playing like Unholy Confessions by Avenged Sevenfold and Master of Puppets. And I was like, you're playing those wrong, right? And he was, and because I heard it in my head, and I guess he didn't. And it's just always been stuff like that. All of that is to say, hi, my name's Taylor. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, I guess. And that's just the backstory for why. Because music for me is not a black and white thing. Music is a very colorful, visual, emotional experience. And whenever I look at the letter A, I see red. Whenever I look at the letter E, I see yellow. Whenever I hear a song or hear music, I get the same sensation as looking at a painting or a photograph and seeing and experiencing the subconscious emotional inputs and sensory, things that you get, stimulants, or I don't know, that you get from seeing a color palette. I have that when I hear sound. And whenever I close my eyes, there are little fractally, sparkly things that dance around to the music. And sometimes if I'm playing with my friends and having a good time, or if I'm just kind of jamming by myself and I'm really in the zone, sometimes that also bleeds out into the environment around me. But some people that have synesthesia, I hear people talk about sometimes it's like they see colors coming out of speakers. And I don't have that. That sounds like it could be interesting. For me, it's more like playing a video game and having a heads-up display some of the time. It's one of those things where it's really heavily tied to my emotional state. And if I'm experiencing a strong emotion, or like a powerful, like if I'm experiencing sadness or happiness or like something very alarming or like frightening, the synesthetic experience is much louder and more pronounced and more observable in my environment. If I'm afraid or anxious or nervous, or if I'm feeling something that's really negative and makes me want to retreat within myself, the sensory stuff kind of goes away and becomes very faint. And I don't really know how to explain it to people. I've tried many times, and I know other people that have synesthesia. I know other people that have perfect pitch. Some people have perfect pitch and they don't know that they have it, it's fun whenever that, when you see that out in the wild. I have a really good friend that's that way. And it's just, I just want to do music my way. And this is what makes sense to me. Whenever I'm just playing or writing music or composing something or improvising or just sitting there and thinking or looking at the piano from my room, like if I'm just walking around and I'm in here, it's not a black and white thing for me. I didn't have a teacher at a young age to, like teach me the scales in a way that made sense to me. And I haven't even really been playing piano for that long, honestly. But there is an element of I can just rely on my experience and I can use that to teach myself. And I have a teacher now and I study with her and she's amazing. And she helps me kind of figure out this stuff and how I can map the way that my mind works with music and learn from that, rather than taking something like the color framework that's already happening in my mind, where it's like, interestingly enough, the musical alphabet is named after letters that we have in the English language. It's for me to look at the keyboard and see, oh, there's yellow, that's E. I don't have to think about where E is. I don't have to think about where an E major chord is. I don't have to think about E Phrygian. It's just it's just there, and I can just see it. And it turns something into something that you have to actively think about and get to the point over time where it's unconscious and it just happens. And then you take that and you translate it back into, now I'm going to compose, and then I'm going to take it back to color because that's what I want to do. It just becomes an automatic thing to begin with, and I don't have to deal with stuff I don't want to deal with. I don't care about learning where A is in the white keys because of this landmark. I just want to look at the keyboard and I just want to know it's right there. And it's such an intuitive thing for me to do it this way, and I think it's interesting. And also, let's just talk about, too, why the keyboard looks different now than it did before I took it all apart and then repainted it. So C, D, and E, and A for me, those 4 notes, those have a very strong color association to them. Those ones are like, I guess you might call them sacred. Like F is, the letter F is like Enderman purple from Minecraft, but F, the note, changes. It's like aura around it changes depending on what key it's in, and like if it is a major or minor. F in C minor and F in C major feel like completely different notes to me. If I ignore the context of the key and just listen to the note by itself, or I hear a train that goes by or a doorbell and it's F, I know that it's F, but it's like the clothes that F wears are different depending on the context. Not all notes are like that. G is like that. G, it doesn't, like, to me, it's like all of the instances, all of the octaves of G they feel like completely different notes. And it's weird to me to just try and simplify them all down to, oh, that's G. But C or A or D or E, those just all feel like the same thing regardless of the octave. It's very, I don't really get it, and it makes a lot of things challenging, and I don't want to unlearn who I am and how I experience music and the world around me for the sake of learning a system that's I just don't care about and is neutral to whatever anybody's feeling, and work with that system just to translate it back to how I already feel to begin with. I'd rather just get rid of that altogether and just learn how I know it. And the other notes, like the black keys are all black again, and F, G, and B have changed color. The F, the G, and the B on the keyboards now, that's how I see the color of the letters for those note names. The sharps and the flat, the letter is just, it's just like B flat isn't its own color for me. It's just like if it's B flat, it would be the same color as B. It just has the flat sign. Or if it's A sharp, which is the same tone, it would be red with the sharp sign. And the last iteration of the keyboard, I think I had like B flat as purple in between A being red and B being blue, which B is kind of like a sageish color. It's not really blue, but I didn't like having in-betweens for all of those, even though like visually it looked really cool having like a whole gradient on the keyboard. It looked really awesome. I really loved how it looked. Also, the functionality wasn't there too, because we're in, like right now, I have this blue and green light going over this whole thing, and you can't really see it, I guess, from this angle, but the notes, like all of the paint, the color changes visually. Like it changes depending on what color light is reflecting off of it. So if I'm at a venue playing a show, and this has happened many times, where I'll get up on stage, I'll be set up, my set's ready to start, and then all the lights go out, which is good. We want that to happen. We just want the stage lighting, but then the stage lighting comes on and it's just red. And with all of the keys painted, all of a sudden, all of the keys, like half of them just look white. And then some of them, it's like there's yellow in the wrong place because this color is reflecting red and now it looks like this. And it just makes the whole thing look really jarring, and it's like shocking to see it. And if the sharps and flats are just black, that goes away because the landmarks are there that I'm already used to from those notes. And also it has the added benefit is I have a friend over that plays and they want to play on my setup. The sharps and flats being black is a landmark that they're going to be familiar with too, so they can sit down and play on my keyboard without being completely lost, which is kind of cool because it's kind of interesting because I guess that sort of transitions to something else where I was just taught all my childhood regarding music, like it's not okay to do that. It's not okay to feel that way. It's not that something's wrong with that. That's not good. Like that's bad. And I quit music for like 17 years. I just completely gave up when I was 15. I had experimented with different instruments. I played trumpet in middle school. I played cello in 5th grade. I played violin before that. I really didn't play anything for longer than a year. I played drums in high school. And none of the instruments felt good. I didn't really connect to them or like them. And they didn't, playing an instrument like that, it felt to me like I was meant to play a part in something rather than just building the whole thing from the beginning. And I liked guitar because guitar, you got to play chords and you got to explore all kinds of different sounds, and it was cool to explore weird and cool sounds and have like a distortion pedal or a bit crusher and all that stuff, and have really hot pickups and do different tunings and have a whammy bar. And like that's cool in guitar. Piano, a lot of people that play piano, it's sit down, shut up, play the song, play to the metronome. If you play out of time, I'm going to hit your hands with a ruler, and shame on you for being a bad student. You need to practice. You're bad. And that's a lot of people's experience with piano, and that's what I was terrified of because I saw stuff like that, and I didn't want to do that. And my grandpa playing, this is my grandpa's piano. He left it to me when he moved on to a different realm. He just didn't care about what other people thought. He just played his music that he liked. And it was really cool to see that. And I'm grateful that there were little moments like that, seeing stuff where it's just okay to be yourself, and you should do that. And this is me saying it to me, just keep being yourself. And it's also me saying it to you, just be yourself. I didn't go to music school. I don't have a degree in music or anything. I just play, and I like to play and have fun. And I've met some amazing musicians just by going to open mics. And some of my best friends in the whole world I've met because I saw them at an open mic and they just didn't care. They were just going for it. And I was doing the same thing. And if you just be yourself, you'll end up, and inevitably you'll end up somewhere where someone else is also there and they're being their self. And then you both see that and you're both like, I'm going to go say hi and just see where it goes. And then all this time later, wow, look where we've come. So keep doing awesome stuff. Keep just being you. And I hope you go out and do something cool and make some good music, or whatever it is you do. If you take pictures, if you're a photographer, if you love playing video games, I don't know. Just go do it and just go have a good time, and don't look back, and don't let people who don't care about you influence the decisions that you make, because they're not worth it. If they don't care about you, who cares? Just do what you know in your heart. And that's pretty much all I got to say. I don't even know if I touched on everything that I thought I was going to touch on in my head, but I think we're pretty good. So thank you. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you all again soon. Thanks.